Have you ever noticed how the need to justify yourself stems from fear? It's a subtle, almost invisible, yet powerful fear. The fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or seen as the villain of the story. When someone distorts our intentions, the urge to explain everything feels almost inevitable. We want to show that we're good, that we were fair, that it was all just a misunderstanding. But what we don't realize is that, in trying to clear our image, we end up tarnishing what's most valuable: control over ourselves. Before we begin, if this content makes you reflect, if it touches a part of you that's tired of trying to prove something to everyone, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This isn't just a gesture of support, it's a vote for awareness. Now, let's get to the point. When you justify yourself, there's an invisible movement at play. It's as if you're saying, yes, you have the right to judge me. I accept your tribunal. And in that moment, you hand over your power. The other person becomes the judge, and you, the defendant, trying to prove your innocence in a crime you didn't even commit. From that point on, the game is already lost, because it's no longer about truth, it's about narrative. And whoever controls the narrative controls the outcome. Niccolo Machiavelli, centuries ago, understood this dynamic. He realized that power isn't about justice, but about perception. Perception is the mirror the world chooses to reflect you in. And the curious thing is that the mirror never shows the truth, only what others expect to see. That's why the true operator of power doesn't try to convince. They shape what others believe without needing to explain anything. When you rush to justify yourself, what does the other person see? They see nervousness, insecurity, neediness. The silent message is devastating. I need you to believe in me. To a manipulator, that's a confession. It's the scent of fear. They know that, from that moment, they control the emotional game. Every word you say becomes a weapon against you. Every explanation turns into evidence of weakness. Now stop and think. How many times have you seen someone innocent sink while trying to explain themselves? It's tragic, but predictable. The one who speaks too much about their purity ends up being seen as suspicious. And the worst part, the more they try to be understood, the more they confirm the accusation. The explanation doesn't clear the image. It only confirms that the other's judgment matters too much. From that moment, the power shifts sides. You stop being the author of your story and become a character in someone else's script. And the audience, those around you, colleagues, friends, watch your defense as a spectacle of vulnerability. Even if they say nothing, the seed of doubt has already been planted. Because humans, by nature, believe more in what's implied than in what's explained. There is, however, another path. A cold, strategic, almost ruthless path. A path that doesn't seek understanding but respect. It's not concerned with being loved, but with being unshakable. And this is the true Machiavellian trick. Never justify yourself. When you refuse to react, something curious happens. You break the emotional script. The aggressor expected resistance, defense, a battle of words. Instead, they encounter silence. And silence, in this context, is more threatening than any argument. It reveals something unsettling. You don't need to prove anything. This kind of presence disarms. The other person begins to doubt their own certainty. Did I overreact? Are they really what I thought? That's how the power shifts direction. You don't win by explaining, you win by enduring. See how this applies in practice. Imagine someone accuses you, you're arrogant. The natural instinct would be to respond, I'm not arrogant. "You misunderstood me." But the Machiavellian operator doesn't follow instinct. They observe calmly and say only, "Interesting perspective." And that's it. The conversation ends there. No defense, no appeal, just control. This kind of response confuses the other person. They expected a fight, resistance, a chance to prove their superiority. Instead, they get indifference. And indifference is a powerful weapon because it shows you're not playing the same emotional game. While the other person gets agitated, you remain still. In psychology, there's a concept that explains this phenomenon: the inversion of emotional power. Whoever controls their emotions controls the scenario. Whoever reacts loses. Whoever observes dominates. And dominance doesn't come from strength, but from the absence of need. You don't need to convince anyone when you already have conviction. Those who constantly try to prove their truth are, deep down, still doubting it. And that's where the trap lies. The people who justify themselves the most are usually the most sincere. But sincerity without strategy is vulnerability. The world doesn't reward those who speak too much. It rewards those who speak when they want to, and stay silent when they need to. In every power dynamic, silence is what scares people the most, because silence is a blank canvas where the other person projects their own fears. And nothing is more terrifying than facing the reflection of their own judgment. Now think about everyday situations. At work, for example, when someone questions your ideas, "I'm not sure this strategy makes sense." The immediate reflex is to argue, to prove you've thought of everything. But the strategist responds differently. "Good observation. How would you do it?" Done. In one sentence, you shift the focus, return the weight, and take control. The accuser now has to back up their critique, and while they talk, you observe. In relationships, it's the same logic. When someone says, "You never care about me," the common response would be to list proofs of affection. But the cold operator responds, "Is that how you feel?" This question reflects the mirror back. Now the emotion returns to the one who created it. The result is immediate. The other person disarms because they realize you're not playing the same game. On social media, where ego and appearance rule, this strategy is gold. Someone comments, "You're fake, just seeking attention." Most people rush to explain. The strategist doesn't. They post something subtle, almost poetic. The truth bothers more than the lie, and let the silence do the rest. Over time, this posture builds a reputation. People notice you're different, that you don't get rattled by criticism, that you don't try to convince. And that's what generates respect, not the words, but the control. The rule is simple. Whoever doesn't react leads. Whoever reacts serves. When you learn to stay calm amidst accusations, something changes in your energy. People feel it. There's an invisible force that emanates from someone who doesn't need to prove anything. That force isn't arrogance, it's mastery. Machiavelli said, "It's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both." This phrase is misunderstood because the fear he speaks of isn't about violence, but the respect born from mystery. Mystery is the territory of power. Being loved depends on acceptance. Being feared inspires attention, and the one who inspires attention never needs to justify anything. That's why the true victory is silent. You don't need to win arguments, you need to win perceptions. And perception isn't changed with words, it's changed with posture. When the other person realizes you're not seeking understanding, they start seeking it themselves. And that's the pinnacle of influence. When people try to understand you without you saying a word, when you stop justifying yourself, something curious happens. the world starts seeing you differently. At first, people find it strange. He's become cold, she's distant, they seem not to care. But over time, they realize it's not coldness, it's clarity. You're not stopping feeling. You've just stopped reacting. And that difference changes everything. Being unshakable isn't ignoring emotions. It's mastering them. It's like standing in the middle of a storm and still keeping a steady gaze while everyone else panics. People trust those who don't lose control because stability inspires security. And in the end, respect comes from security, not explanation. When someone accuses you, what's really happening? It's not just an attempt to blame you, it's a way to destabilize you. The accuser wants to put you in motion, wants to see you defending yourself, wants to steal your calm. And if they succeed, they've already won. That's why silence is the most lethal blow. It shows you're not willing to play their game. There's a force that emanates from self-control. It's almost magnetic. People can't explain it, but they feel it. Those who master their own behavior seem larger than others. It's not about status, it's about energy. The modern world is noisy, full of voices competing for attention. So when someone speaks little, every word carries weight. When someone doesn't react, every gesture becomes a mystery. Have you ever noticed how the most respected leaders rarely explain their decisions? They simply make them, and in doing so, they create an atmosphere of authority. People may disagree, but they respect. Because those who explain too much seem to doubt their own choices. The same applies to personal life. How many times have you tried to prove love, loyalty, or good intentions, and ended up feeling exhausted? This happens because the energy of explanation is the energy of defense. And those who live defending themselves don't have time to move forward. There's an ancient metaphor that illustrates this. A lion never needs to explain that it's a lion. It simply is. While other animals roar to seem strong, the lion walks in silence. And it's that silence that makes everyone step back in respect. When you internalize this, the way you deal with the world changes radically. At work, faced with unfair criticism, you stop reacting with justifications. Instead, you observe. People notice you don't get rattled easily and start watching their words. Because what scares a manipulator the most is unpredictability. Those who react are predictable. Those who observe are dangerous. The human mind tries to decipher patterns. When it can't, it feels fear. And that fear turns into respect. That's why, when you don't justify yourself, others start wondering, what are they thinking? Why didn't they respond? They create stories, formulate theories, and each one amplifies your symbolic presence. But beware, don't confuse silence with passivity. Strategic silence is active, calculated. It's a conscious choice not to engage in a war that's not worth your time. The Machiavellian operator doesn't flee from the fight. They choose their battles. Sometimes the best response is a short, neutral, unsettling phrase. When someone provokes you by saying, "You think you're better than everyone else," the common reaction would be to deny it. But the strategic response depends on what you mean by better. Cold, ambiguous, and powerful. You neither confirm nor deny. You simply return the weight of the question. This technique is called psychological mirroring. By mirroring the other person's tone, you make them confront their own aggression. Most people can't stand seeing themselves reflected. That's why when you respond calmly, the accuser feels exposed. Machiavelli said that in politics, appearance matters more than essence. In the game of emotions, this is even truer. Perception is everything. You can be absolutely right, but if you seem desperate to prove it, you lose. On the other hand, you can be wrong, but if you remain steady and silent, you inspire doubt. The human mind associates calm with control, and control with power. It's an ancient instinct. Since ancient tribes, those who spoke little were seen as wise, and those who reacted too much as weak. That logic hasn't changed. It's just taken on new stages, offices, relationships, social media. So, when someone attacks you and you remain serene, the collective unconscious reads it as superiority. You don't need to explain, your body speaks for you. Now look at your own life. How many times have you wasted energy trying to convince someone who never wanted to understand you? That's the trap. The other person doesn't want to hear, they want to see you expend energy. It's a form of control disguised as dialogue. When you stop reacting, that dynamic falls apart. At first, it may feel difficult. The urge to explain is almost automatic. But with practice, you'll notice something liberating. Not reacting is a form of peace. The absence of justification isn't coldness, it's self-care. You're not staying silent out of fear. You're protecting yourself from emotional exhaustion that leads nowhere. Over time, your posture changes. Those around you notice you speak little, but with conviction. That you don't engage in pointless debates. That you only respond when you truly want to. And that creates a rare kind of respect, the silent respect. That respect is true power. It can't be bought or begged for. It's earned through emotional discipline. And here's the secret. Whoever masters silence, masters the other. There's no weapon more effective than the tranquility of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. It confuses, disarms, and in the end, wins. Apply this to different areas of your life. At work, faced with a hostile boss trying to provoke you, smile and say, "I understand your point." That's it. That phrase, said calmly, changes the game. The power shifts from emotion back to reason. Now, the one who gets agitated seems unbalanced and you, stable. In relationships, when your partner tries to blame you for something you didn't do, don't fall into the dance of explanation. Say only, "I'm sorry you're upset. Let's talk when things are calmer." That attitude cuts the cycle of emotional manipulation. With controlling family members, the tactic follows the same principle: short, neutral, unshakable responses. "I understand," "could be," "we'll see." 3 words that end battles before they even start. And on social media, where opinions turn into ammunition, remember, those who try to justify everything end up being swallowed by the algorithm of emotion. Silence here is gold. Over time, this posture changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. You start to feel something you may never have felt before: self-sufficiency. You no longer need the world to believe in you. You believe in yourself. That's when true power is born. The power to be at peace even when attacked. The power to smile when they expect you to explode. The power to not justify yourself because you know that the one who needs to explain is the one who doubts their own truth. Silence is a fortress, and every time you choose it, it grows stronger. Those around you will start to notice. Those who used to provoke you now hesitate. Those who tried to destabilize you start avoiding you. Not because you defeated them, but because they know they can't touch you. And those who respect you even more. Because the world feels it when someone is in complete control of themselves. That's victory without war. You don't need to prove, argue, or beg for understanding. You simply exist with conviction, with clarity, with silence, and the world bows to it. Remember, explanation is an emotional trap. Every time you rush to justify yourself, you're asking for permission to exist. Stop asking. The next time someone tries to distort what you did, look them in the eye, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I don't owe you explanations, because real power isn't in convincing others. It's in never needing to. And it's in that moment, the moment you stay silent and the world speaks for you, that you discover the ultimate freedom. Silence is the sound of self-sufficiency.